And most of us are carrying feelings of lack of deservingness or guilt or fear. We're having concepts of this much money, but not anymore is good. So limiting beliefs, limiting feelings. And at some point, you need to address those if you want your company to be the most powerful.
"83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business. On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
Welcome to another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. I'm Brad, and today we have our guest, Dr. Joe Gallenberger. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. How about you, Brad?
I am excellent. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Northern Virginia. So as we always do, we jump right into some awesome questions. Man, I can't wait for some of these answers because this is right up my alley. So you've taken a scientific approach to manifesting, including testing theories on the card tables in Las Vegas. So what have you discovered about the power of intention in these experiments that you've done?
Intention is very important, but for me, it's like the steering wheel of a car is very important. It sets the direction you're going to go, okay? But the car goes nowhere without gas. And what I've found is the best gas for manifestation and getting your attention to come into reality is the energy of unconditional love. So that's what we use to have our energy move through the heart with the mind setting an intention of where you would like it to go. And then with that, I've been in laboratories in major universities, and we've done things at statistical levels that are way, way above chance. So, for example, in one lab, there was a height of a fountain, bubbles by random hydrodynamic law if the water pressure is even. And they said, Joe, leave it alone for 15 for control, make it high for 15 minutes, make it low 15 minutes. And I was able to surround that column in my mind, or mentally, it's behind glass, with support, much like you would have an aura around your own body. I imagined a support column around the water. And then for the short condition, I imagined a sword like Star Wars lightsaber cutting the water and breaking that column height. And I got a Z-score of 12.97. 1.96 is 1 in 100 by chance. So that's pretty exponential. And we did one where a computer picks pixels from 2 different pictures. And if you want to get the kitty cat picture, you go, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. And the computer locks on that. I got 30,000 to 1 by chance. So I left that lab knowing PK was real, psychokinesis, and I could do it. And it's the same energy used in energy healing and in manifesting. It's this real clear intention, clear focus, and then moving a lot of energy to that. We can really morph physical reality in whatever
Joe,
we're working.
Hang on a second, man. You've said a lot of stuff I want to touch on. So sure. we're gonna get to the craps table in a second. But the fountain, you've got a water fountain that is randomly shooting water. Not randomly, it's shooting a certain amount of water. And you're telling us in the audience that through the way of the intentions that you're setting in your mind, you were able to change the height of the water. Is that correct?
Correct, but not just through my intention, but projecting energy, much like, say you went to the vet with a kitty cat or a dog that's your favorite pet, and the dog or cat was a little nervous about getting a shot. And you just naturally would project your energy around your beloved animal to calm him, make him feel safer, that kind of thing. We naturally do that for babies, for people that we love, for pets. It's that type of thing where you have to enter into a oneness or a connection with the water, even though we don't think of water as having consciousness usually. But if you assume everything has consciousness, then you can connect. And in this case, when you want the column of water to be high, you would surround it with some protective thing to support the column. When you wanted it low, you might cut the column with your energy. Is that making sense, Brad?
It makes sense. And I want you, and you gave some statistical and some scientific modeling, but I want you to speak. I want you to speak to the person who isn't super sharp on scientific. And I also want you to speak to the person like I was 5 years ago. Had I heard this, I'd have been like, who is this crazy guy? There's no chance. Now, after the thousands of hours of research and stuff that I've done in psychology and the power of the brain, I believe you 110%. What do you say to the person that's like, this is crazy? Like, no way this could happen.
Well, that person needs to be open-minded enough to have a dialogue. But when we do a meta-analysis of the 20 years of research in this area that I'm calling psychokinesis, ability to affect matter with your energy, we get results that are more than a 6 sigma event, meaning they would not occur even once in a billion times by chance. Okay? And open-minded scientists, when they look at that, and this is Nobel Prize winning laureates and mathematicians and research design and all, this is the conclusion they come to. Princeton University Anomalous Research. It was PEAR, Princeton Engineering Anomalous Research Lab. They did studies with 12.5 million trials. And again, they were getting results in these billions to one by chance. So, when they put out a new drug, if it's 100 to 1 by chance that it's helpful, they will use it. And we're not talking thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000s. We're talking millions to 1 by chance. So then you go, well, how come nobody believes it? And if you look at what's going on, there's an interesting coalition. Fundamentalist ministers hate it because it could be of the devil. Atheists hate it because it implies there are more than 98 cents worth of chemicals or whatever the inflation is now. And various people coincide together, and they have the ear of government and most of the science funding to do research in this area is a kiss of death for a scientific career often. And believe it or not, most of the research is occurring in engineering labs and things rather than psychology, because physics and engineering are a little more open-minded to this. Then you see the results. And one thing I did, Brad, is I've had 99 workshops in Las Vegas where I take people 20 at a time. And when we're there, we affect the dice on the dice table at thousands and thousands of 1 by chance again. We had a roulette hit at 1.2 billion to 1 by chance. Slot hits at 200 million to 1 by chance.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Tell us what that actually means. So,
okay. So, for example, on a poker machine, state of Nevada, if you're in Nevada on this for Vegas, knows exactly how often a royal flush and hearts should be dealt on a slot machine, for example. And in that situation, let's say it's 160,000 to 1. So there'd be 160,000 other hands and then one of these. And so if you bring it in on the first pull of the slot machine, you're basically doing something that should not happen by chance except once in a very long time. Some people look at it as, if you looked at this as flipping a coin, a true coin, heads and tails, and you flip it 100 times, you should have pretty much 50% heads, 50% tails. So if you do 10 tails in a row, that begins to statistically be in maybe the 10,001 by chance area. As you get to 20 tails in a row, you're maybe at 1,000,000 to 1. I'm giving broad figures right now, just to give an idea of what we mean. Meaning it's very unlikely to occur just by random.
And are there 20 people, or did you say, or is there one person, and are they thinking certain thoughts? Are they taking the die in their hand and saying, this is going to be a 6, this is going to be a 2? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, right. So it could be an individual. And what the lab would say is an individual, particularly if told that it's possible and believe it somewhat that it may be possible, they can have quite powerful results, that individual. But if you put two people together, it can be more than twice as effective with a big if, Brad. The if is they have to be coherent in intention and be simpatico. So I could do a love and light seminar, you do some, I gather, where we're trying to really get people to feel good. And then if you go to the lunch break and you say, okay, we're going to have pizza for 18 people, let's figure out what to put on the pizza, that could fall apart. There'd be meat eaters and vegans and people that love anchovies and people that hate anchovies. And it's hard to get that coherence. So when we do these things on manifesting as a group, as a country, as a family, as a small town, as a group of 20 research subjects, getting that coherence, you have to drop ego enough. That's true in companies too, working as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have to have a healthy self-concept, a healthy ego, but at some point they have to begin to have a coherence of the team, everybody pulling the same way. And for that, there has to be good energy flowing. There might need to be a sense of fairness, a sense of even love in the organization and passion for the work, or else there's going to be a drag on the manifestation. And we find that in the science lab.
Or maybe even like a shared sense of purpose. Like, in my business, we help people overcome limiting beliefs that are causing them depression, anxiety, addiction, bad relationships. And if everyone was like, oh my gosh, this work is amazing, then we would have a chance to succeed. So I have heard, Dr. Joe, that a person can walk up to a tree, and depending on the energy that they're emitting, if they're like severely depressed, or they're the opposite, if they're like just free and have a bunch of joy, that can literally affect the tree. Is that accurate?
Yes, it seems like thought and thought plus energy can affect living systems quite easily. One of the things we do in some of my workshops is we take seeds that have been soaking for about a day and we put them in our hand, and we get seed growth of 1.5 inches in about 2 minutes. Okay, so we're accelerating growth. And that's been repeated in science labs. Okay, we can send energy, say, to a vial of bacteria that's being hit with an antibiotic. And we know that the antibiotic will kill 93% of the bacteria in 15 minutes, whatever the figure is. And if certain people shield those vials of bacteria with positive, the bacteria survive. And those kind of experiments are very elegant because they don't involve a lot of placebo effect and other things. They can be 4-way double-blinded. And so if you do have people that are research-minded about this stuff, they can check it out. There's been a lot of progress in the last 20 years about what we can see happen. We happen to use these things to give people the confidence you're talking about, that they, in fact, their intuition can be accurate, and that they can affect matter. So on the dice, using that as an example, when we had a group, the last group we had, on dice, there's 36 combinations of 2 dice with 1 to 6 sides each. And so the most common number is rolling a 7. That comes up 1 in every 6 times. And we're aiming for pairs, so we don't want any 7s. We had a lady roll 48 numbers in a row with no 7. The odds of that, again, statistically, are pretty unlikely. And it can be highly profitable. And out there in the Vegas Adventure Workshop, the money just helps people pay attention. We're only betting small amounts, but people get a lot of joy out of that, helping each other and win. In a science lab, it gets boring. Brad, when they take me to a university, they may put a 110 lead EEG on my head, so all these little pins, right? That takes almost a half hour just to put the cap on and get all the pins working and right. And then they may say, see this gray box. For 48 seconds is a favorite amount of time. For 48 seconds, make the box dance inside, and then leave it alone for 48 seconds, and then 48 seconds, make it dance, and do that for 100 trials in a row. Well, that gets boring. Nothing, you don't see anything happening, okay? But statistically, then later, you can see, yes, you had an effect. The nice thing about the SyncCreation home study course I have, the Vegas Adventure workshops, are ways to get people to do this in a fun manner and a way that at home or in a group, they can see results quickly on the seeds growing, on lighting light bulbs with your energy. We've measured 400 volts off my hands when we're lighting fluorescent light bulbs. Throwing dice in patterns, affecting slot machines, those kind of things. In real life, say you wanted a soulmate or a new business to really thrive, you could put positive vibes out, but it might take a year, right? For that to all come to fruition. And you're not getting much feedback, and so it can be discouraging. Or you could think negatively for weeks before you got a cold or some expression of that negativity. These psychokinesis effects give clear and immediate feedback, usually within seconds. And that's why they're such great training tools.
So this is fascinating stuff, Dr. Joe. Could you share with us how the tragic loss of your brother set you on this path to studying manifestation and just how you got here?
Okay. Well, I'm a clinical psychologist by trade. I had a psychotherapy practice for 30 years. As a kid, I had some of this psychic stuff, like being very intuitive with my mom, almost telepathic. I had out-of-body experiences, those kind of things. My older brother, Pete, was very hardworking, handsome, responsible, but he had trouble finding work and other kinds of things, and eventually he committed suicide. And it was a tough time. I had to give the call to my parents and all of that, and it made me wonder, how can a good person, bad things happen to good people, if you will. And what seemed to be missing for him was a sense of deservingness of good and a suspicion about power, that it might be something that he's seen other people abuse, like bad bosses do. And so he's leery about that in a combination with fear. And if you haven't been working for 6 months and you got a family and a kid in college, that's pressure, right? And it's hard not to be in fear. So that started me on an exploration of how can people manifest positively when normal life is happening? When you got to have courage to be a human being. I had 3 teen daughters, when they were teenagers, they might say, Dad, can I go to this party? I don't know if I say yes, if they may get killed on the way to the party. Or if I say no, they jump out the back window and get into some other trouble. So we're making decisions, even for people we love, not just ourselves, with limited data, and we have to live with the results. So the challenge is, how do you stay open-hearted and positive and feel really happy about being here on this planet? Those kind of things, because that's where the power is. If you're floating in the sky, don't want to be here, tuning out to alcohol or drugs or even distractions of making money or whatever it is, you're not going to have much ability to affect the world. And so that became something for the last 2 or 3 decades I've been working on. I've also been a trainer at Monroe Institute over those 30 years. And they have ways to help you meditate quickly now with technology, where before it could take a decade in India to learn how to meditate well. Now, in 10 minutes, putting headphones on, we can get brainwave patterns to go into deep relaxed states, and then creative states, and then these psychokinetic states we're talking about. So I use those in my meditations, and that makes this work a lot easier.
Is there a meditation? I've really gotten purposeful about meditation just really literally in the last 10 years, 10 days I did it. But now I'm actually doing another Dr. Joe that Dispenza in the morning and the evening. Is there one that's kind of sets apart that you would recommend that would get your brain into those brain waves that would be ideal?
For the novice, particularly somebody who's not done this, it is useful to use headphones. But I have one on my website as a download or a CD. I think the CDs are almost out and we're going to downloads, but called Liquid Luck, Liquid, Luck, Luck. And if you Google Liquid Luck, it'll pop up. And what I was doing with that is saying, how can I take 30 years of experience in manifesting and distill it to about 30 minutes and give people a taste of how this would work? So rather than the kind of meditation where you try to have a blank mind, this is more guided imagery. And you're guided to have a beautiful container in front of you that you fill with golden liquid. And in there you put in happiness and gratitude and feelings of abundance, feelings of compassion to get out of ego, feelings of good fortune. And then whenever you want to be a lucky day, you take a drink. So when I put that out within days, I was getting reports of people finding soulmates, winning lottos, things like, Joe, I won $1,000 lotto 3 weeks in a row, finding new business things, solving invention issues that had been unsolvable by a team of very talented people for years, finding solutions, all kinds of a shift in the energy. So Liquid Luck is a very good way to get a taste of this. And so I might recommend that one.
I'm going to go download that when we finish this podcast. I'm going to go download it and I'm going to start doing it. That sounds absolutely amazing. Where can people find that?
That would be on the banner on the bottom here. It says my website, which is www.sync, SYNC, like synchronize, and then the word creation, CREATION. So SyncCreation.com. So that will take them there. Or again, if you Google Liquid Luck, you'll see my name pop up, Gallenberger, and Liquid Luck, and it'll take you to my website. And that's where you could get the download.
I love it. I've been an entrepreneur since 7th grade, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast. How can us entrepreneurs use what you're talking about to create more business success and thus impact?
Very helpful to have a genuine passion for the work, as in helping other people, not just making money. Okay. And then the meditation techniques, such as the Liquid Luck we just mentioned, that's under $20, or the home study course, SyncCreation, with that same name, which is extensive, has coaching with me, that many businesses have used with their key people to all get on the same page about the principles of certain things. There's movies like The Secret that talk about visualizing, but what they don't tend to emphasize is the shadow part of humans. And most of us are carrying feelings of lack of deservingness or guilt or fear. We're having concepts of this much money, but not anymore is good. So limiting beliefs, limiting feelings. And at some point you need to address those if you want your company to be the most powerful. And so there has to be a safe space to do that, because people are sharing their vulnerabilities and saying, I'm not real good at this yet. I'd like to learn to be so. And in fact, when we look at, one of the best drummers in the world is deaf. It's a woman who's won several big music awards and has played at the Olympics. There are many comedians who stutter or are very shy. There's politicians like even Joe Biden, who just is not going to run now. He's had a severe stutter all his life. So you can take people on your team, and if they feel safe enough, even some of their lack of skill or vulnerabilities end up to be great strengths. But the atmosphere has to be one of this positiveness and safety. And the way the meditations are a good thing, but also some of the, when I do a workshop for an organization, I will have the folks bend metal with their mind, or, we will light light bulbs, or we will throw dice and patterns just to show people that you can do it. And it's a lot of fun, and it's less fearful than a ropes course, but it's people come to attention. They might be not 100 feet in the air if they're afraid of heights, but they're, people go, gee, I'm afraid I'll be the one not to bend the spoon. And then if you go deeper into that, they're afraid maybe I will bend the spoon. And to do so changes my whole definition of reality and power and what we can do. So,
yeah, I want to reiterate something you said that was really, you've said a lot of important things, but this one particularly stands out, that the secret doesn't necessarily work because the individual can say affirmations all day long, but if they haven't done the shadow work, that they're going to struggle. And that's the same reason that people go to Tony Robbins and when Zig Ziglar was around and they'd get all riled up and all motivated and they come back and a couple of days later they'd look around, they'd be like, but wait, I'm still drinking, I'm still yelling at the wife, I'm still getting angry at the, driving to work in the morning. And that is because they have this shadow work. And said another way, it's these limiting beliefs that were likely created decades ago in your life. And until you do that work, and that's one of the things that you and the work that I do, we specialize in. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, am I that person that has the shadow work that I have to do yourself and your family and your business a huge favor and just take 2.5 minutes and take our self-love quiz at unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz. And it's going to show you if you lack self-love, it's a definite sign that you have some of this work that can be done. But on the flip side, don't think that that's, woe is me. Just think about how much better your life can get once you do the shadow work.
I'd agree, Brad, and even free on my website, there's an exercise called the abundance tree that came to me in a dream. Okay. When I was heading out for one of these Vegas workshops, and as I went to sleep, I said, I'd like to have a dream about anything that would heal what's in the way of abundance. And in the dream, I was in a pasture and I saw a pile of dead branches. And each branch represented an item on a list of dead frozen energy frozen in a form. So it might be, I'm not good enough, or you shouldn't trust people, they'll screw you, pardon my French, or whatever it might be. And so we'd imagine in that field a large wood chipper, and you'd hear the sound, and you'd feed those branches through the chipper and change the pattern of the energy frozen into the form of the thought that might be, I'm not worthy, whatever it might be. And as that changed form, you would then use those wood chips to feed an abundance tree and see that growing. And when people do that, they feel within 20 minutes of doing the exercise, they feel so much lighter. And they can take it sometimes different layers if there's been heavy trauma. But that's one of the exercises in the study course, for example, that we use. Another is to bubble it away, almost like a bubble floating in water. So the wood chipper is kind of a yang, active, masculine. Let's really transform it. And the bubble it away one is more like, when I surrender, all I do is give up the illusion of separateness. And I let go of these things that no longer serve me. And that's a very powerful thing to do. And then we have a third exercise that on the fly, as you're going through your day and somebody calls you that pushes your buttons, and they say something that triggers you off into a negative space, you can just say plus dissolve. And because you've learned that in a deep meditation, much like a post-hypnotic suggestion, when you say plus dissolve, all of your system, your emotions, your inner child, your unconscious, all cooperate to let that soften. So that would be an example of working with the shadow.
Is that is that plus dissolve happen to be in the liquid luck?
No, the liquid luck is designed to be pretty quick one time and to transcend fear in things. And it tends to work pretty well. But if you want to go real deep, that's when you get into the dissolve command and those kind of things.
So are
And
you saying the liquid luck isn't something you should listen to every day or every night?
no, some people do that. They listen every morning to set a good mood or every night. Other people use it just occasionally. Um, and there's actually a book called the Liquid Luck Handbook that can go with it. You can buy separately because there were so many stories of success that I wrote a book sharing the success as well as why is happiness important. And when we look, they do studies where your picture in high school when you graduate, you could have a real smile or a fake one. Just by the muscles, they can tell. The fake smile people don't do as well in life as the real smile. They had a group of nuns who all went through the convent together for 40 years. And they tracked people who wrote an essay at the beginning of their thing of why I would like to be a nun. And those essays that were happier, those nuns, even though they all believed roughly the same thing, ate the same thing, lived in the same place, the nuns with the happy essays lived longer, less physical illness, were more successful, all kinds of things, even by measured from one essay when they were maybe 18 years old. So the book goes into why happiness is important and how you can cultivate more of it. Most people go, I'll be happy when I win the lottery, or I'll be happy when I find my soulmate. Uh, the idea in all of this energy work we're talking about is to be happy first.
Yeah, freaking love
And
it.
then, yeah, those things flow to you better.
Tell us the theory around this illusion of separateness.
Okay. This is just my idea. All right. I can't prove it as anything besides my own dogma. I think we are one, all consciousness. And at some point we say, I'd like to have an adventure, and we split off from the oneness. And to do that, we have to adopt some beliefs. The first one is we're separate. The next one might be that there's something called time and space. And that way we can have a linear experience sequentially. And we adopt beliefs that allow us to have a human life adventure of free choice. No, God is making us do it. No, that kind of thing. But once we get going, nobody's punishing us. But say we had an experience where the first person I asked out rejected me. The second person I asked out, I'm going to be nervous. And the third person, I'm going to have rings of sweat under my arm. And they're probably going to say, buddy, get lost. But, and I'm thinking people I like don't like me, or I'm being punished. But no, it's just that I'm reacting to experience and misinterpreted it incorrectly. In my example, the first person I asked would really love to go out with me, but their dad said, you're not old enough, you can't date yet. So their saying no didn't have anything to do with me. But I made the conclusion it did. I'm making this story up. It's not a true one out of my life. So that's a little bit longish answer, but I think sometimes the AWE, awe, can just blow through those barriers of separateness when we're looking at the sunrise or sunset in the Grand Canyon, when we're holding an infant, particularly our own child. Those kind of things, all of a sudden we feel that oneness. And we feel everything is in right order, and many different feelings that people who meditate very deeply find for them they are truths that kind of pierce the illusion of survival of the fittest, which is
let's use you and I as an example, Dr. Joe. How would you explain to the listeners how you and I are one?
I think that's the core reality, but we can choose to put on costumes. I could put on the costume of Earthling versus Arcturian or Palladian. I could choose to put on a male costume or a female or a white or a black or underprivileged or overprivileged or whatever. And some of those costumes allow us to have the fun of a play. Is not all characters are the same. There's tension between the characters, okay? And there might be a villain, and there might be a hero. There might be somebody needing saving, and all. Where I come from, though, would be, I feel our essential reality is we're designed to be beings that gets energy in unlimited quantity and quality directly from source. And that's how we're made. When that's cut off, then we're energy starved. And as humans, we love energy and need energy. So we will tend, if that's cut off some, to try to get energy from other people. And that tends to make these roles come about. So I could be the good boy, the good girl, the bad girl, the savior, the mess, the victim, the perpetrator, and I'll get other people's attention. And that gives me the energy I need. You know, if you withdraw energy from babies, they die. You can give them all the food and everything else they need. But if you weren't energetically interacting, they'll exhibit failure to thrive. And I think that continues through our life. So for me, as you get in touch with that oneness, all of a sudden these energy streams are there better. And I would look at you, and rather than say, how can we compete for limited resources, it would be, how can we celebrate our oneness by creating cool stuff together, you know?
Yeah, I was just telling the story yesterday. There are obviously a lot of people that believe in aliens. And there was one person that said the aliens who, if there are UFOs and they've created these amazing time travel, they look at the Earth and they kind of laugh at us and they're like, it's so weird. They're all one, but they're constantly fighting. And they figured this out, that they're all one, and maybe this is why. And I said to someone just this weekend, I was on a little vacation getaway at Smith Mountain Lake. I go, can you imagine if the 7 billion people on this planet got that we were all one? Can you imagine what we'd be able to accomplish with 7 billion people working together? It would be unimaginable.
Some people even feel if 1% of the people felt that, it would be hugely transformative. So one of the goals of the Monroe Institute is to get 1% of people exposed to the idea that we might have the oneness in our awareness. But then, within oneness, it can be fun. I can say, well, Brad, for the last 10 years, you've been the detail person and I've been the idea guy. Now let's switch places. And I'll be the detail person and you be the idea guy, or whatever it might be. There can be a lot of fun pretending we're different, okay? Because you can be the audience and I'll be the performer, or vice versa. And there's a lot of play, but much like playing tennis is fun because you realize ultimately it's a game, even though you could be dead serious on the court. If you realize this is all a game, then this changes.
Dr. Joe, I could talk about this for the next 24 hours. I'm taking my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, to her first ever hot yoga. So I got to wrap up. This show was absolutely amazing. I can't wait to, I'm going to keep in touch with you and hopefully we can do something together one day. SyncCreation.com. I'll put it in the show notes. Again, thank you so much for everything. This was amazing.
My pleasure, Brad, and look forward to talking with you again, and wish you all goodness. And it's fun to have kids that age. Enjoy. Mine are a little older.
Thank you, sir. That concludes another episode of How to Be Happy for Entrepreneurs. Remember, I'm trying to help 1 million people end these limiting beliefs so that they can live the life they deserve. So if you like this show, please rate it, review it, share it, whatever you can do to get the word out. Until next time, remember, love heals all.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.